And you can see part 3 of The Secret Garden next Friday at 5 o'clock.
Tomorrow at 6:40 on BBC1, The Laughter Show.
You try out town tonight. I'll give you a lift.
Oh, right in.
All right, I'm ready when you are.
I hope you're all enjoying your breakfast. And I know this isn't a time to bring it up.
Don't worry, little pie. We'll get it down for you.
The Laughter Show, tomorrow at 6:40.
Now on BBC One, before the 6 o'clock news, here's Mike Smith to help us wind up the week with Friday People.
5,
4,
3,
2,
1.
Tonight's Friday People include Britain's best group. Now there's Wham mania in America. The new Fontaine, Alexandra Ferri. And the stars who turned out for a Python's new film. Good evening. Yes, your weekend starts right here. First of all, news from the pop scene. When Wham received their award for Best British Group the other week, they were flown into Britain by Concorde, especially for the awards ceremony, because it's not only Margaret Thatcher who's been doing well in America. George and Andrew were in America doing a concert tour and returned there by Concorde last week to complete that tour. With George Michael's Careless Whisper currently #1 in the States, Wham mania appears to be at fever pitch in Reaganland. Exclusively for Friday People, here's Tom Brooke.
Time can never mend the careless whispers.
Wham's tour of America took them right across the country through half a dozen cities. Wherever they performed, they were greeted by enthusiastic crowds. Sales of their record album, Make It Big, are rocketing. There's no doubt about it. Wham did make it big in America.
And Wham's last stop in America was here in Boston. And the reaction to Wham in Boston is the same as everywhere else in America. What do you think of Wham? They're a teeny bopper group, aren't they? Aren't you teeny boppers?
A lot of people like them. A lot of parents, like my parents are here. They love them.
So they have more than teeny bopper appeal in America.
They have a wide audience.
Apart from performances, George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley kept a low profile, avoiding interviews with the press and allowing their fans only minimal contact.
Right, let's get to the car, please.
I want to get Andrew's autograph so bad. I think, oh God, he is God.
Do you want them to come back to America?
Yes. I just want his autograph. Tracy, I asked George for a hug. He was getting ready to give me one. The car pushed my head. Oh, I would have died. This is so unreal. I can't handle this.
Careless whispers.
Careless Whisper, George Michael's single, last week moved to the #1 spot in the US charts, adding to the magic of what everyone agreed had been an energetic and unforgettable tour.
I think just the enthusiasm from both the audience and from the people in the band and the crew, and everybody that's been on this tour, is, you know, everybody gets energy off everybody else.
So you feel you've been a real hit here in America, do you?
Yeah, certainly.
And there's no doubt, young Americans want Wham back as soon as the band can possibly make it.
Well done to George and Andrew. Wham wowing America there, as reported by Tom Brooke, who actually had hair before he started that report. Now, it's been called the weirdest film so far this year, and one critic even says that it's the most original movie we'll ever see. It's British. Created by former Monty Python team member Terry Gilliam, Brazil is a fantasy film which Gilliam himself describes as a tragedy. Brazil, which is nothing to do with Brazil the place, or even Brazil the nut, opens in London tonight. Last weekend, many celebrities attended a sneak preview, and our Nick Rowan was amongst them.
The Odeon, Leicester Square, and even though it's 3/4 of an hour before the film starts, you've barely room to breathe. The hand-picked members of the public are here not only to see the film, but hopefully catch a glimpse, perhaps even an autograph from the stars.
There you are.
Leslie Crowther, Olympic swimmer Duncan Goodhue is here. Isn't that Sharon Davis?
How are you?
Now that's interesting. Glynis Barber with Michael Brandon, Dempsey and Makepeace. Eric Clapton in the shadows.
See you later. See you after.
The star of the film, Jonathan Pryce.
Hi, how are you? Going in.
Bernie Winters. And the director, Terry Gilliam. This may look like a very generous gesture. The film company call these dudes talkers. In other words, you invite famous faces to be photographed by the press and hopefully spread what's called favourable word-of-mouth reaction. It's one of the most successful ways of getting publicity and apparently cheaper than a premiere.
Anyway, most of it's finished.
Yeah. What are you doing? Harry Tuttle, heating engineer at your service. Tuttle? Are you from Central Services? I called Central Services.
Well, they're a little overworked these days. Luckily, I intercepted your call.
Just a minute. What was that business with the gun?
Just a precaution, sir. Just a precaution.
But why is this film called Brazil when it's not even set in the country?
Yeah, it was the song, I mean, which, I don't know, for some reason is always stuck in my mind. Brazil, where hearts were entertaining June, we danced beneath the ember moon. It's that song, and it's always had sort of conjured up images of escape and romance and beautiful beaches with palms playing, and it seemed to be a perfect counterpoint to the world that is the world of the film.
It's an incredibly odd film, Brazil. What's it actually about?
This is what's difficult. I've actually hoisted myself on my own petard here because I've actually made a film that you can't describe in a couple sentences. It's actually going to be a very difficult film to market for that reason because rather than a sentence or two, I think it would take several days to explain the film. But or you could save a lot of time rather than talking about it and just go and see it.
Wow. You remember Alison?
Evening?
Alison. Sam Larry, old friend. Alison, yes, of course. Well, you look different.
Well, I'm 2 years older.
And she's been to Dr. Jaffe. She doesn't like me telling people, but in fact, she's really pleased. I knew there was something different. Remember how they used to stick out? What? Oh, yes. Well, rather. Always used to wonder if they were real.
What, my ears?
Dr. Jaffe pinned her ears back. Yes, that's right. Always used to wonder if she wore false ears. Oh, Mr. Helpman. False ears. Mr. Helpman.
It's 10:30 now, and I find myself strutting away at a nightclub just up the road from the cinema. They've laid out quite a spread, too. It all helps to digest the film. Well, could you fail to enjoy this? So here's the acid test. Has the evening worked? Did the celebrities like Brazil?
Well, I've been kind of brutalised. I'm all covered in bruises. And I'll tell you, it's like being mugged by a film, and you sit in the cinema and there's words all over your lap. You know, everybody's talking at you. And I love that. I love to be bullied.
They really put this together well. I think the realization and the reality all came together for this film. I think the special effects, you know, the
sets and the detail, the little details were really quite extraordinary.
as well as the performances. It was a marvelous picture.
Such a totally different experience. Very frightening.
I was a little depressed by it. I thought it was very, very good and very puzzling.
I think it would be a huge hit because It's got all the pizzazz of a Star Wars and all those effects, but it's got a really strong story as well. It's bizarre. It should have been called Bizarre, not Brazil.
Quite a success by all accounts. But at the end of the night, could anyone please explain to me what the film was all about?
I wouldn't even attempt that. And furthermore, I hope Gilliam never asked me to be in one of his dreams. I distrust that young man now that I've seen what goes on inside his head. It's quite extraordinary.
Do you think you understood it?
No.
No. It's impossible.
It's about getting away from reality into your mind. It's the true wonder of life can be in your mind. I always thought Terry Gilliam was mad. Now I know he's brilliant.
See if you can understand Brazil any more than the stars can, because they evidently can't. But did you spot the man in the balaclava in one of those clips? Do you know who that was? Do you know the clip I'm talking about? It was Robert De Niro. Take a look. Every chat show's favourite star, Kenneth Williams, is 59 today. He shares his day with Sir John Mills, who's 77, Bruce Forsyth is 57, and Julie Walters is 35. Former Beatle turned movie mogul George Harrison will be 42 on Monday, and on Wednesday, Elizabeth Taylor will be 53. Now, she'll be celebrating her birthday, I can reveal, in London, because next Friday, St David's Day, she'll be attending a private party for Richard Burton's family and friends. And tomorrow, Howard Jones will celebrate his 30th birthday in America, where he flew this week to attend the Grammy Awards. He's currently number 6 here, with Things Can Only Get Better. Still to come before 6 o'clock, Alexandra Ferri, the sparkling young star of the Royal Ballet. 200 bikers launch Broadway's newest musical. And we'll have some more of your candid shots from the photo file. We've got a lot to fit in this evening. What have the following films in common? Chariots of Fire, Gandhi, and The Killing Fields. Well, they're all British, they're all extremely highly acclaimed, and they're all based on true stories. Well, next month sees the release of a new British film based on a true story. Dance with a Stranger follows the life of Ruth Ellis, the last woman to be hanged in Britain. Sarah Green reports.
On June the 21st, Ruth Ellis was found guilty of murder at the Old Bailey and sentenced to death in accordance with the law. On July the 13th, she was executed in accordance with the law.
The judgment on Ruth Ellis, having pleaded guilty to the murder of her lover David Blakely, became one of the most controversial in British legal history. Crowds gathered outside Holloway Prison to protest at what many saw as an injustice, seeing the case as a crime of passion. And 30 years later, that love story is told in a new film, Dance with a Stranger. Ruth Ellis' sister, Muriel Jacobite, helped in the research for the film. The film tells the story of how Ruth Ellis, in her class-conscious 50s, fell in love with racing driver David Blakely.
What have you to find you in here drinking yourself stiff? Or tidying up your nanny skirts at the ancestral home you got us quoting? I suppose they're all under the false impression you've got a shred of decency left in your body. You cowardly, treacherous, two-faced mockery of a man! If you didn't want to have anything to do with me, I wish you'd had the nerve to say it to my face. I wouldn't be so ashamed of ever having had anything to do with you.
Sorry, Margaret. Who's with this lady? Can you get her out of here?
Ruth became infatuated with Blakely, who in turn treated her so badly that in spring 1955, in a fit of depression following a miscarriage, she shot him dead in a crime of passion. Over the years, many different accounts of Ruth have been told, so will this film tell the truth? Sister Muriel admits she was nervous about the making of Dance with a Stranger.
Yes, I was very much.
In what
yes, because I
way?
wanted to know. Well, because so many things have been wrote about Ruth, and nothing has ever been the truth. And I wondered about the film if they were going to get as near as the truth as possible. And I think that they have done in the film.
I hardly knew anything about Ruth. I guess I had the same preconceptions as a lot of people. who weren't around at the time, or even who were around at the time, maybe, that she was a fairly neurotic murderess.
This is where it's all so wrong. They didn't look into the other part. They just look at you at a cover. They don't take it into consideration that what's inside that cover. It's just by the look of a person, because you've got a peroxide hair, because you work as a nightclub hostess, you're no good.
Sheila Delaney, who wrote this story, had to remind me that at the beginning, she said, just remember, it's funny as well. You know, I've written some funny things. You know, don't take it too much to heart. But obviously, there's a great sense of responsibility because people who are connected with her are still alive. And you don't want to disappoint people.
Ruth was a very happy-go-lucky girl. She was very ambitious. She wanted to make a life for herself and a good one, and for her children, mostly. She was a very gay and exciting person to be with.
She's somebody who was living in Technicolor in a very grey time of Britain. I think whatever opportunity she had to create an edge in her life, a sparkle, she took. I like her for that. I think she had an enormous vitality.
There's a thrill that comes stealing.
With the compliments of the gentleman at the bar.
Is that pompous little Alexandra of yours, doesn't it?
Would you dance with a stranger?
Do join us, Mr. Fletcher.
Dance with a Stranger, which if it does nothing else, it will make an enormous star out of Miranda Richardson. The film opens on March the 1st. Now to see what's developed on the photographic front this week. The competition has been extremely hot in the race to win this week's prize, and it was, as you may remember from last week, this tiny, tiny portable radio cassette player. Stop all that nail biting. Here come the final 6. And the first one is sent in by Mike Smith of Harrogate. Absolutely no relation. He's the guy up there in that photo. He was the skipper of a yacht for 2 weeks in 1975, cruising around the Caribbean, and he was looking after Paul Newman, who loves, according to Mike, Vivaldi, popcorn, and arguing about what part to accept next. One discussion apparently lasted for 24 hours. Jane MacDonald is from Wakefield. She's the VIP hostess at Casanova's nightclub in Wakefield, and she recently met Wham, who were both obviously extremely surprised to notice that she had a pair of legs. Vera Wood of Alresford in Hampshire once worked for Warner Brothers in the United Kingdom, and in 1948 she was visited by Ronald Reagan, who was making The Hasty Heart. Sydney Simone of Maida Vale on the left of this picture in 1958 at a charity concert at the Café de Paris in London. Sydney was the orchestra conductor with Noel Coward there in the middle and Charlie Chaplin on the right. Carolyn Woodman of Edinburgh in 1964 was a 13-year-old sharing a secret with John Lennon at a Beatles concert at the ABC Edinburgh. Then she met the Fab Four. And this is how she looks now. And finally, Jackie Lebrun of Jersey in August 1965, during the filming of Dr. Kildare, she met Richard Chamberlain, whose chat-up line was obviously, "Come up and see my medical certificate sometime." And the winner this week, well, I would love to give the prize away to Mike Smith of Harrogate, but that would be nepotism or something like it. The winner will be Sydney Simone of Maida Vale, West 9. That wonderful picture of Noel Coward and Charlie Chaplin taken in 1958. Well done, Sydney. You have the radio cassette coming to you soon. We do need more photos of you with a star, even the ones that went wrong. If you've got any of those ones of Eamon Andrews with his head cut off or something like that, please send them in. The prize will be this enormous magnum of champagne, which could keep you happy for hours, and it will be served to you by this ridiculous toy, which is all the rage in America. It is, thank you, it is actually a robot butler, which we've had flown over especially from America. You can have this prize. Thank you very much indeed. You can go now. Yes, we call him Wogan. You can probably see why. If you'd like to win Wogan and the magnum of champagne, please send your photos with a stamped address envelope to Friday People, BBC Television, Centre House, Wood Lane, London W12 8QT. Now, a touch of class on Friday, people. Alexandra Ferri, principal dancer with the Royal Ballet. She's just 21 years old, the youngest principal in the Royal Ballet, and she's generally reckoned to be the next Fontaine. She proved her worth to a wide audience at Christmas with Wayne Eagling in Kenneth Macmillan's production of Romeo and Juliet, which was screened on BBC2. Jan Ravens visited the Royal Ballet School, where Alexandra is rehearsing.
When you have been acclaimed so young as being so successful, do you feel that as a pressure on you?
I start to feel it as a pressure now, yes. Before I used to think it was wonderful. Now I realize that the more they say I'm good and the more they expect, and they give me less room to be wrong.
When was it that an audience responded to you as a special talent?
I really felt that they thought of me as being something big and great when I did Meyerling. I really, really felt a response then.
Why was that? Was it just applause or flowers?
No, it was, you feel something electric coming from them, some real communication from the audience when, they can clap at you in many different ways, and that time I really felt love from them, yes.
Watching you rehearse made me think that it's a shame not more people actually see ballet. How do you react to criticisms that it's elitist?
I don't think it is an elite form of art. I think sometimes it becomes it because it's expensive going to the ballet, and I think it's a real shame.
Do you think
because
there's any way...
I think a lot of people would appreciate it if they could get to know it.
You're working with a new partner here. What's it like working with a new partner?
Well, it's quite difficult at first. I mean, of course, Stephen is new, but he's very good. So it's just that, when you are used to working with one person, you get used to their way of moving, their musicality, and it almost becomes automatic. I mean, you don't even need much rehearsing. When, therefore, with Stephen, I don't know, we have to rehearse more because we have to get used to each other.
How did you first come over here from Italy?
I came over when I was 15, and I did a class with the ballet school because I wanted to join the ballet school. And it was a very, very quick decision that I made. Over a month, I just packed my bag and left.
So when did you actually start to dance?
When I was very young. I mean, I actually started when I was about 5 or 6, in a little ballet school, which we were not actually doing proper ballet lessons. I started properly at the age of 10 at La Scala in Milan.
Do you miss Italy when you're here?
Yes, very much. I miss the colors of Italy, the beauty of Italy, and the personality of the Italians, their warmth and something, because I'm so open and, I'll always say what I think, and I'll say it on the stage somehow. I never keep it for myself.
Why is it, do you think, that you have been so successful?
Maybe it's because I really put everything in my dancing, I mean, all my heart, and I really believe in it, and I think that probably gets to the audience, and I'm able to communicate it to them.
The highly talented Alexandra Ferri, who you can see at Covent Garden from next week in a new ballet called Different Drummer. Now, in a couple of weeks, a new musical will be opening on Broadway. What makes it unique is that the show's producers have commissioned a pop-style video to show on television, thereby making a wide audience aware of this new stage production. From New York, here's Tom Brooke.
This is what Broadway, the Great White Way, looks like most of the time. But a few days ago, Broadway was transformed to enable a music video to be made, The Leader of the Pack. The song, Leader of the Pack, was a big hit back in the 60s, when it was first recorded by a group called the Shangri-Las. It was written by Ellie Greenwich, whose life and times are being recreated in this new Broadway musical. Patrick Cassidy is one of the stars of the show, and he plays the part of Jeff Barry, Ellie Greenwich's husband.
The storyline is the story of the two of them, of Ellie Greenwich and Jeff Barry, and their writing and how they wrote the songs and what happened to them, how they got together.
What kind of a woman is Ellie Greenwich? She's written some fantastic songs in her life, hasn't she?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had no idea until the first run-through what the songs, how many songs that she'd really written that were just really extraordinary. I mean, like River Deep, Mountain High.
My baby does the hanky-panky.
So many people were recording old 60 songs. I mean, Phil Collins recorded the old Supreme song, you know, and so I think that for the generation that grew up in the 60s and listened to that music, it's going to be like something for them. And for the new generation that's coming in, I think that they're really going to get a big kick out of it, too.
You're not going to go up one-way streets the wrong way, do wheelies, or crank these things up. We've had complaints already.
The music video for Leader of the Pack was shot a few days ago, and it involves some 200 bikers.
I think that it's a great way of selling a Broadway show and showing what Ellie Greenwich's music is, and to also bring in that younger audience, you know, to get them used to that kind of music, too.
Patrick Cassidy obviously wants the show to be a hit, but whatever the outcome, it won't destroy his love for the musical's title song, Leader of the Pack. What is it that you like about that particular song?
The motorcycles.
I'll never forget him, the leader of the pack.
I'm sure if someone was bright enough to pick that up, it could be a big hit in this country. That's Leader of the Pack. Did you spot something familiar about the show's star, Patrick Cassidy? You did? Well done, because he is, in fact, David Cassidy's brother. Well, that's it for this week. Next Friday's People will include Phil Collins in London, and from New York, we have Raquel Welch, Christopher Reeve, and Linda Evans, plus 97 other stars at New York's Night of 100 Stars. All that for just 18 pence a day. See you next Friday at 5:30.
Hello, in Midlands today this evening, we report on the unique blitz to shorten the waiting list at a Birmingham hospital. We meet the schoolboy who had a go at armed raiders. And in rugby, what chance the 6 remaining Midland sides in the John Player Cup. News and sport, Midlands today at 6:35.
If you want to be terrified out of your wits, have a look at Jimmy Young's vest. If not, watch Wogan at 7 o'clock tonight. This is BBC1.